everybody. Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is so 420. All of a sudden, 420 became something that you do in the Orient. Oh, 420. That's not the truth. It doesn't work though for 710 to 710. No, don't work. Anyway, good to see you all. I look like shit. I was not here Tuesday, and I do apologize. I know you've heard these words, and I hate to be a broken record. I am ridiculously busy, and I just have a ton of stuff going on right now, and I have to. What's the best way to say it? I have to give that the attention it deserves, and as much as I want to be here every day, I haven't even gotten new artwork made the next season, so I am pretty much a whole season behind at this point when it comes to artwork and that stuff. But I'm trying to maintain getting on here and talking to y'all and doing what we do, which is really about spreading love and positivity and knowing that you can get through any day, no matter what that day is and what has been handed to you. I don't know if he'll make it, but my good bud Joe, Joe Dirt, if he was here, he would tell you that is exactly the reality. By the way, I did get something myself, so what's up, Grizz? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. And there he is. I got something cool from this new company that I've been hearing a lot about. Has anybody else heard about these guys, KO? So apparently KO makes your life okay. See, isn't that cool? So this one is Camel, and it's called, this stuff is called Knock Off the Cough. Oh, let me get it open. There we go. I got to say, I've been hearing a bunch about it. They got great reviews, got a great presence on Twitter. I'll say that. And it really does smell good. Now, I'm not coughing right now, so I mean, it's really not a good test. And I'll have to do another test. I'll have to do a test another night. I am just too busy to even bring the dab rig up here. That's why I asked my wife, I was like, please just roll me a joint so I can be greasy on there and still smoke. What was I going to say? So, you know, what this is really about, and you know, thank you. I think it does too. I agree, man. That's why I was bringing it up, because it really does. Like I've used it before. I haven't used Camel. Camel's new. So, what's up, Princess? How are you doing? Yep. And Princess says she gives it a thumbs up as well. Isn't that nice? Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Princess. I'm sure they do too. I know that there is just a small, tiny little company. But, you know, I was thinking today, I was talking to my wife about it. And y'all will get this. Particularly those of you who are married, particularly those of you who have had any type of a long relationship where you truly are not. There's no way, because what have we talked about before? Every 10 years, you're not the same person. So if you're in a relationship for 20, 30, 40 years, these people have watched you become these different people, and vice versa, right? You've watched them be these different people. So there's a lot more growing. And this is why, you know, and let me say this. If you look 200 years ago, right? 200 years ago, your life was pretty much your life. You didn't have this different 10, 20, 30, 40 shit, you know, which life was simpler, right? But you have it now. And so it's much harder, in my opinion, to have a relationship, weather the storm of, you've got to not just love one of me. You've got to end up loving probably, you know, if we're going to be there 40, 50 years, you're going to end up loving like 5, 6 fucking versions of me. And I've got to love 5, 6 versions of you, right? Look at that badass cup. I love that. There you go. Oh, there it is. Yes. So 420. It was the coolest thing I found, because I gotta share this with you. I didn't get this that particularly, Matty. Let me just get it back up there. So I found the mug, and it was obviously weed, and you could put one initial up top, one or two. And I saw that rent. I was like, oh, get the fuck out. So I was like, that's perfect. I can actually do my little So 420 thing. But no, back to what I was saying. To love a person in this day and age means you're going to love somebody throughout their changes. And that, like, you know, for instance, my wife and I are together now 60 years. I've known her since her 20s. She's in her 40s. She's known me since my 30s. I'm in my 50s. Even though it's 16 years, you know, you got to look at it mathematically speaking and logically. The guy I was in my 30s is so different than I was in my 40s, who is yet somebody different than I am in my 50s. So this woman who's only been with me 16 years really has already had a taste of, like, guaranteed 2 different versions of me, but if not 3. And again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It works both ways, particularly in a relationship. By the way, this whole concept and theory of thought works when it comes to partnerships as well. Anything that lasts, children as well, right? I have now known my father and my mother. Technically, me knowing them, I've known them since their 20s, like actually known them. I got to really know them both more in their 30s, and then I truly knew who they were by the time they were in their 40s, because I was now in my 20s, right? And it works with kids. You know, I've already watched my kids already now, you know, if you abide by school of thought and you see it that way, you know, one of them, obviously Skylar's gone, but one of them, you know, that his living twin is in essence in like the 3rd different version of him, right? And I say that because all these things, they matter. Number one, the more you realize them, the more they help you get through the day and understand that, you know, you're not the same. The woman that you're with, if you've been with her even 8 years, is not the same woman. Even 5 years, it's not the same woman, right? We know that you're somebody different every 10 years, but that works on a yearly basis. Like, you're evolving every single year. So, you know, they too, again, working both ways, they too are different. You are different. And one of the things that I realized today is that in time of growing and in this place where I am attempting, you know, what I was talking to about my wife is that I am attempting as best that I can to live from a standard of love, right? And what I truly mean by that is, you know, I try to see each day with love. Now, in order to do that, you know, I've talked about this before, so this is not new. You have to love yourself. In fact, it is the you know, everybody asks for one simple key to happiness. I truly believe that I have found it out, and it's simply put, to love yourself. If you love yourself, you'll work everything out. Everything will work out. And if you get to that point, then you will understand why. Because if you truly love yourself, then what somebody else says doesn't matter. What somebody else thinks about you doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, the only thing that matters is that you love yourself. And if you do, you know, here's another little side effect of it. When you truly learn to love yourself, what I have found, and I imagine this is probably true for most people, and I mean that because, you know, as humans, tends to be the same things for everybody. They don't do them the same way, and nobody is the same, right? Let's say like, oh, dear basket. Oh, got it. My apologies. The more you love yourself, the more you take down the defenses. Because what we do, for like the first, I want to say really even the first 20 years, right? But we have a lot of it in place by 10 years, and then we put even more into place. The most of it, the bulk of it comes into play, in my opinion, between 12 and 15. And these are defensive mechanisms, right? Most of these are, you don't even think about it. They run in the background and they're subconscious, and it's just all of a sudden, boom, you're doing. One of the big ones, defensive wise, right, is, and we've all heard this before, is to put up a mask, right? So, for instance, for me, part of my defensive mechanism for years, before even, and you know, many times by the time you're in your 20s, you're doing these without thinking, but more importantly, you're doing them before someone has actually necessarily deserved them, right? Because you just many times present yourself with your mask, because you're like, if I do that, then it's just better. They never get to know me, and none of that is happening up here. You're not thinking to yourself. Your subconscious does this shit on a whole nother level, and you're done, right? Anybody who doesn't believe in the subconscious, let's have a long talk, because I promise you, it is true. I'm going to heat this kufi up. Your subconscious will get the best of you. For instance, most of us, okay? And if you want to say that's not me, that's fine. I don't care. But the vast majority, 90% of us, and my wife and I were talking about today, we end up not loving ourselves. And it's this day and age that you have to fight to love yourself. I do not believe that has always been the case for everybody. Right? I think there was a time when a lot of people loved themselves because they didn't have the world that we have today. It wasn't moving as fast as it is today. Right? So if you're trying to learn to love yourself in this day and age, part of that is you have to pull the defensive mechanism down. When you pull that down and you pull the defenses down, you're being nice and sweeter, but here's the key. You're also getting hurt more because you feel it. If the defenses are down and you do not have something blocking the whatever you want to call it. Oh, shit. Blocking the throws, right? Then you're going to get hit more. Think of it like this. If we're looking at it as boxing, right? Two boxers go at it. They both come out guarding their face, right? And they bob and weave, okay? The more you walk the line of loving yourself, and I know you're going to think this is crazy because you're like, why would you take that punishment? Well, it's different when you love yourself. You'll get what I'm saying in a minute. The more you love yourself, the more it's like walking out to that ring just slowly, each time your hands a little bit more until finally they're at your side and you're taking hits. And I know somebody will be like, why would you do that? Well, here's the thing. By the time you do that, you're made of fucking bronze. You're made of diamond there. Okay, even better. You're made of diamond. You have such love and admiration and respect, and not in an egotistical way, in a way that you know whatever is hitting you from wherever it is, it doesn't matter because you truly love yourself. Now, we are not perfect beings, folks, right? That's part of the good, the bad, and the ugly of us, right? And I had to say, I'm at a point right now where I've never loved myself more, and I've never wanted to quit being here more, right? And anybody that wonders why, I mean, it's just simply put right there, right? But why do I love myself? Right there. The same, I have 3 boys that are my blood, not to mention I don't know how many others, man. I mean, I really don't know. Not to mention the people here, like anybody who comes here and wants to hear me preach about whatever it is getting something out of this. And their day is a little different for it, right? So I have plenty to love myself and live for. It does not, and that's what I was trying to say. We're all human. It doesn't make it easier. Okay? It doesn't make it. And if it did, then it would be you lose something, and I've already talked about that. I don't want to dull the pain so much that I dull the joy of a great day, and that's all. I'll go back and watch the other shows. This world that we live in is incredible, and the joy that we feel is only there because of the pain that we have felt in equal magnitude on the other side. Think about it. When you understand that, you're like, okay, then you can do one of 2 things. You can either go stoic, again, watch an early episode, or you can feel the pain, let it register, cry, shout, whatever, react, but in a constructive, non-hurtful to others way, right? Here's where all of it was going for me. I tend to do incredibly great throughout most of the day and throughout most of my life, except when I'm driving. and just generally when I'm out and about. The public going out, it's like someone just pissing on my parade the moment I go out. There's so many bad drivers. Now I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with Springs. I have had talk after talk. This is not in my head kind of thing. The country will state, most people in the country will state that Florida is the worst drivers they've ever seen. That's only because they haven't driven in the Springs. I am an ex-Florida driver, and I have a lot of ex-Florida driver friends that are here, and they absolutely agree. There's no worse place than the Springs. It is by no coincidence that my son was killed here because you have horrible drivers. I'm not going to say he was a horrible driver on the bike. The fact is, the reason there's so many bikers that die here is because you do have a lot of bad bikers, as well as a lot of people, and I do mean a ton of people that do not look for bikers. I know this. I'm an ex-biker, and as a car, I watch for bikers, and you can see another car that just doesn't even look for them. That's all there is to it. So, what have we learned here today? Driving in the Springs is shitty. When I go out, it's amazing because it's almost like, and I told my wife I think I'm just going to keep the windows up. I had in the last car, the one that just recently got totaled, I had past limo tent. You could not see. You could be standing right there, like you could be like this, and you not fucking see in my car. This I have, I think it's like 10 or something. You can still see. It's even lower on the 2 front because my wife is a wimp, and it's like, please don't get so dark. And nobody will do it as dark. I will tell you this: the guys in Florida, they can give a shit. They're like, you want that limo tent? You want fog on there too? Okay, let's smoke it. And yes, I was doing a northern New York accent because it's New Yorkers down in Florida that are doing most of the work. Go there and find out for yourself. Fuck off. So to wrap it up, I get there on the streets, and it doesn't matter. I tell myself this is going to be a good drive. It's going to be calm drive. I cannot tell you how fast that goes away because some schmuck Some schmuck, if you will. And all I can say is I let these schmucks get under my skin, because there's a time, many times, where I'm the schmuck, right? Somebody else is like, that schmuck. So I know that I'm a schmuck, and I know they're schmucks, and I know I shouldn't let it get to me, but I do, folks. I do. My defenses are way down here now. So when somebody cuts me off, all I can tell you is it's like they have personally hurt me. I know that's not the truth. They're just trying to get to where they're going. It's nothing personal, but that's my point. And I am not at the place where I own myself. I was getting there, and then I had to go through some more transformation. Right? I was getting there, and I'm getting back there, but I'm now at such a torn place where it has nothing to do with my feelings for me. It has to do with my feelings for life and wanting to get up. It's funny because I really have a hard time. What I mean by that is if my wife comes and gets me up to take her to work or something like that, I pop right up, take her to work. As soon as I get home, I jump back in bed. I used to be the one that got up at 6 a.m. every morning. Every morning, right? I was up at 6. I would be drinking my first cup of coffee and already done with kratom and 2 edibles and something else by 6:15. No BS. And now, for instance, I'll take my wife to work, and it'll be like she's gonna be there, at 5:30, 6:30, something like that in the morning. So I'm dropping her off at 6:30 and then going home, and then I come home and I go to bed. That did not used to be me. That is the part of me that is truly depressed. See, one thing that I figured out recently, even if you truly love yourself with all your heart, you can still be depressed. And that's why I said, if you love yourself, you will get through it. I'm getting through it every day. I still do get up. So here's the caveat, the other side, if you will. I do get up, and then I stay up and I work until, in the evening. And then what's the word? I eat horribly. I know that I'm trying to change that, and it's messing with my digestive system, and I do mean in a bad way. The one day I had the shit of death, where I literally thought I was going to die on that toilet. And then the next day I was constipated with what I'm pretty sure was a small version of the wound in my butthole. So, yeah, it wasn't good. And after, quite frankly, anybody who knows, or anybody who's been there knows this, but after you have kind of a warning, it's really hard to start your day and be happy. But I digress, or excuse me, I persevere, and I do it anyway. That is why I'm still going. Simply because I have, and once you do love yourself, you're not going to stop loving yourself, right? You're just going to have tough times. And I've met a lot of people lately, and I do mean a lot. Like I've literally met 3 people in the last week who have lost children. One 21, 19, 15, and even 2. Man. 2. I thought it was interesting that I met these people, and I don't believe that I believe that everything happens for reasons. I believe there's no coincidences, and I met a range of 4, or I met 4 children, the parents of 4 different children, all of which children were younger than mine. Do you have any idea? No offense to anybody. One parent lost a child at 2 and a child at 15, which means all in all, that parent had 19 years with those children, and I got 22 with Sky. Do you know any one of those parents would do to have 5 more years with their child? Any of those children? as fucked up as it is, and I know it is, most of us parents would do anything, which is the whole concept of Pet Cemetery. Somebody came to me and said you could have your cat for 5 years, but in 5 years he's going to die again, and he's not going to be able to come back again. But it's the exact person that boy, that would be. I would start asking a lot of questions, the salesman in me, and I'd want to know what all the clauses are. What's the cons, right? Tell me all the cons. I said that because, and it was interesting. The first person I met was their son died like a year and a half before Sky. They were born slightly after. So again, these people ultimately had this family had less time than I got with mine. So I immediately was grateful for that. But I immediately hit me. I was like, and all these parents agree, we have become kindred spirits because I remember when it happened, right? I remember thinking to myself, and this may sound conceited, I don't mean for it to, but I remember thinking to myself, literally no one, except someone who's lost a child, is going to understand what I'm dealing with. And I say that because when you lose a child, the first thing that happens, I mean, anybody who's been there knows the first thing that happens is everybody wants to be there for you. That is absolutely true. It sucks that he's dead. It sucks that, or I should say it sucks that the child's dead. It sucks that you don't have him anymore, that you have to live on without him, all that stuff, right? And you hear the same thing. Take him before his time. He shouldn't have gone. Well, the old me, when I say old, we do change all the time. And the 22nd is, what is today? Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days away, right? In 3 days, it will have been a year since he left, right? It's been a year full of pain, but it's also been quite a year full of growth, new innovation, friendships, relationships in general, not just friendships, but relationships, people that even if I never talk to them again, and something that I have learned, I've made a mark in their life and they will never forget me. And for the good, for good. I talked to someone today. And it was funny. She was with the garbage place. When I mean by garbage, recycling, the trash can, the whatever, the weekly pickup. And I was explaining to her that and I'll try to make this short. Most people know I'm extremely transparent. So very quickly, within like 5 minutes on the phone, and I was looking for a new home, it did come up that Skylar was no longer with us. In fact, that I never finished it, and I'm going to talk to her Monday again. But I was trying to tell her how it was him that saved his brother later, because I told her about the wreck, and so we're getting the same day we're getting the news about how much we're getting for the settlement. Anyway, it was amazing because as I was telling her the story, I started off, I was like, please don't look at this as, don't hear what I'm saying as sadness, hear the joy and the inspiration of it. That lovely young woman, married, parent, had some similar pain. And what I mean by that is, yes, our pets are supposed to die, but they're usually not supposed to die young. And hers had died 10 years ago, which means rather young, probably in her teens, right? Maybe even 20s at the best, but that's still very early. And it was, as she put it, what made us bond was it was a quick and unforeseen death, which is the same way his was. Okay. His was quick. It happened and nobody was expecting it. It was an accident, right? Her dad's was an accident. So she had that understanding of, one day they're here, one day they're not, and there was no preparation for it. And by the time we got on the phone, man, all I can tell you is we were both, it was a really sweet, loving phone call, but it's those type of calls. I'll be having a bad day or fighting to want to keep going. And I'll either talk to somebody that I end up preaching to, or somebody, Joe, will call me and out of the blue and want to talk. It is more times than not my dirty buddy, more times than not will call me and I'll do it. I promise, if we were keeping scores of interrupted calls, it's like 3 for me and probably like 9 for Joe, but I digress. It's the reason these things happen. Talking to somebody else, and I've said this 100 times, and I was trying to give a new story. I hope I wasn't boring. When you talk to someone else about your pain and then give it a positive, it's not pain, it is motivation. It becomes, all right. She even said it because she's been dealing with it for 10 years. She's like, it's really awesome talking to you because she found out about the company and she found out, about all that stuff. I mean, I'm transparent. I don't care to hide things. So I told her the simple truth. Oh, I was going somewhere with it. Oh, that's what I was in. She said, yeah, one of the things you're going to do is help other people who have lost children. And that's when I went, we ended up talking for another 20 minutes because then I went, like, you got to hear who I've met. And I was continuing to share lines with her. Because one of the things that happened, and then I'll let you guys go for one of the things that happened very quickly after Sky left was the amount of signs increased exponentially, letting me know that as much pain as I'm in, I'm on the right path. And everything's going to be okay. This is supposed to happen, And all I can tell you is if I did not, I know some people will probably disagree, and that's fine. I have visceral proof, so anybody who wants to disagree, we can go at it. That's virtual boxing. Okay. It all happens for a reason. The pain is there for you to appreciate a better day. And every single time every single time is the catalyst to something greater. And I've told people this, and it's really a good exercise, and I suggest that you try to do it sometime. Go in your early age, like say 7 to 10, and then from 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, so on, however old you might be. And out of each one of those, I say 7 to 10 because up until 7, it's all kind of like, it can be earlier than that, but really, the first 10 years. And pick 1 or 2 really bad things that happened to you during those days. Okay. And I want you to really follow the order of events. And what I mean by that is every cause has an effect, right? And every effect becomes the cause for the next effect. It is a domino, right? So follow that. And I have yet to know anybody that did it earnestly and open-mindedly. And what I mean by that is, believing that this was possible but follow it. And it may take 30 years. Someone said that to me the other day. Mine's always been 10. They immediately threw out 30. But follow it, and you will find out that, generally speaking, sometimes pretty quickly, not always, but generally speaking, within that first, this is the general, within that first 10 years, it will have paid you back in a very incredible way with a greater, even more consequential even event, whatever the case may be, than the bad thing that happened to you. And the bad thing was absolutely the cast. If it hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. Okay? Really do that. And see if you've come out to the same place I have. Because when I've done that, sometimes it does take longer, and that's what I was saying. But generally speaking, it's usually within the first 2 to 5 years, and then another large portion in that 5 to 10. For me, I'll put it this way: when I did the exercise, I ended up doing like 5 or 6. Been doing it now, by the way. I haven't just done those and then stopped because they all ended there. I've continued to do them, and I live by this, right? I mean, even with skies, I'm not going to get into it, but already there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great things that have happened because he died, and that's all there is to it. 5 great things. You can't argue that. You know what I mean? What do we got down here? Hey, man, I love you, brother. Have a good evening. Oh, yeah. I got an eyelash. It was right there. I was bringing it to a close. The whole point is that if you do the exercise, I believe, like me, you find out that every single bad thing, it is the nature of the world we live in. It is the yin and the yang. It is our atoms down to our core, negative, positive, forever circling one another, right? You will find that they all are catalysts to greater days, better days. So when you have that bad day, just, don't try to skip your pain. I promise. And we'll go over that again on another show. Just feel it and know that something great is going to come of it. In fact, think of it this way: the next time something bad happens, you can literally look at it and be like, okay, this is a seed planted. Will this grow? Right? Think of it like that. With that, where it is, go ahead and end it there. I love all of you folks. I hope that y'all have a wonderful Friday tomorrow. Thank God it is Friday. Don't see why I won't be back Saturday. And most likely I will probably be streaming on the 22nd. I will just go ahead and say why, just very quickly. I usually only stream, as everybody knows, on the odd days. But the fact of the matter is, last year, while my son lay in the morgue, I streamed. I didn't know he was dead. I did not do it knowingly, but I did, and everything happens for a reason. So to me, part of what that has told me as I move forward in life is that every year, Panda, every year in tribute and honor, and because I just love the number so much now, I'm going to stream on October 22nd every year, right? It's not normal, but hey, I have other reasons, and I've done that for other events anyway. So it's not like it's the first time. Obviously, I was doing it that day, even though I don't normally do it. Just so you know, I was at the time before Skylar, I was pretty religious about making my number of streams each week. So if I missed one, for instance, let's say the way that today's not a good example. Let's say, let's say I missed today. Okay. Then I might stream tomorrow on the 20th to make up for the 19th. And that's what it was last year, is I missed the 21st. So I was streaming on the 22nd to make up for it. And I had a flick, which I haven't even done. You know what? Maybe I'll talk about that next time. But I had a flick dick that needed to happen with like 5 films. So I did do it. And then later that night I got the call. So everything happens the way that it's supposed to. So now I will forever stream on October 22nd for the rest of my life. I love all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful Friday. I hope you have a great weekend up in not period, but I'll be seeing you around Saturday night. So I hope between now and then is awesome, and then we'll talk about from that moment on. I love all of you folks. Please try to learn to love yourself. It is the one thing that will give you every tool you need to be happy in this life. And even though, if you didn't hear anything, even though I am fighting, right, this want to be here, I'm still extreme. I've had days where I have not been happier. And I'm talking days since Skylar died where I was as happy as I ever was before. In fact, even in some cases happier, because it was right when he died that I was learning to love myself. And if I had not made it over the hump of what I will say, I'm a numbers guy, so I feel like I was well over the 50% mark of loving myself. If that had not been the case when Sky left, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have the wherewithal, but that's not the way it happened, because that's not the way it was supposed to. So everybody have a blessed evening. Have a blessed tomorrow. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weekend. I do love all of you, and I will see you on Saturday night. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consistent ain't something I could say well. Throw my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish a day is swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.